This video is brought to you by Bookmark.com. Bookmark's a free website builder where you can create a professional-looking website with hosting in just a couple minutes by answering 7 simple questions. Bookmark's AI engine, Ada, literally builds your website right in front of your face in less than 2 minutes, and you can edit virtually every aspect of the page once it's complete. You can also upgrade to connect your existing domain and create an online store with e-commerce integration. It's awesome. Click the link in the description below or check them out at Bookmark.com. Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching Bad Seed Tech, and today we're taking a look at the latest mouse from Cooler Master. This is the MM830, as well as 2 of their new surfaces, the MP750 and the MP860. For transparency, Cooler Master sent out everything we're looking at today, as well as a load of new keyboards, which we'll be checking out pretty soon. The MM830 can be found for between $75 and $80, depending on where you score it, and this is a big boy right here, measuring 130 millimeters long, 43 millimeters high, and about 60 millimeters across the middle where you'll actually be grabbing the mouse. It's kind of tough to get an accurate measurement there because of the thumb groove as well as the slope of the mouse where your thumb actually rests. There's no weight adjustment system here at all, and despite that, this guy tips the scales at a hefty 126 grams. This mouse does not miss a meal. Naturally, the design here is going to draw some comparisons to the G502. I don't have a 502 in-house right now, but I feel like going off memory, the front and rear slope of this mouse is a little more aggressive. Obviously, this mouse is going to be geared exclusively for right-hand users. With a hand measurement of 20.5 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters, I find either a claw or a palm grip to be totally comfortable here, with my natural grip falling somewhere in between. Material for both the triggers and the top plate here is PBT plastic, which is something Cooler Master does often with their mice, and in my mind does right. You never have to worry about soft touch coating that flakes or ABS plastic that gets a little shiny on your triggers after a few months. There is no rubber grip at all on the outside edge of the mouse, but the thumb side is coated almost completely in a rubberized material. The cable here is thin, braided, and very flexible. In my mind, you probably wouldn't need a bungee, but I have a tendency to use one if I'm not using a paracord. The other smart little detail here is that where the cable meets the mouse, they've actually angled that connector upwards. In theory, this will minimize drag versus a cable that comes straight off the front of the mouse. On the bottom, you get very generous mouse glides here, with a large one at the front and the rear, and a fairly large one still under the thumb groove itself. The front triggers are Omron switches, and they have a pretty soft, muted click to them. We've also got an Alps scroll wheel here. The rubberized material on the outside is pretty slick, but it is grooved. It's pretty low profile too, which I like. It's also really easy to actuate. There is no side-to-side tilt here, but for me, it feels great. Single button for DPI adjustment to 1 of 4 levels, and it's using an A3360 sensor, which is rated up to 24,000 DPI. On the thumb side of the mouse, located right underneath this rubberized coating, are 4 buttons here, which Cooler Master calls a hidden D-pad. Hidden D. In practice, your thumb can rest right on that front button without actually triggering it, and simply by rocking your thumb up or down, you have access to 2 additional buttons. There's also a 4th button, which is pushed further back on the frame, and you can trigger that with the inside of your thumb. Not the tip of your thumb, but like the inside of where your knuckle is or right below it. This means once you've got your grip, you never have to worry about moving your thumb out of position at all to hunt for these buttons. After a few days, you'll be a pro at triggering all of these without having to think about their placement. This adds a great deal of flexibility in your gameplay, and in my mind is a much better solution than what we've seen in like those phone pad button arrays on the sides, or even the hex button arrays that we've seen like on the Razer Naga mouse. For the culture, you also have 4 different RGB zones, as well as this Oled screen that's positioned right in front of your thumb. The RGB here is pretty straightforward, with a couple little standouts, like the logo itself is actually divided into 6 independent zones, and there's this little ring around the back whose sole purpose seems to be to throw some underglow on your mouse mat. I like this. This Oled screen though, I mean, it's a cool little feature. It can be used to display various system specs, as well as your GPU load if you happen to be on an NVIDIA card, custom bitmaps, whatever. The issue is that due to the recess on the screen and the angle of that mouse, you can't really see it anyway unless you lift your mouse all the way off the desk and point the screen right at your face. Personally, I would have liked to have seen him skip this feature and save on weight. So this mouse is insanely configurable, but unfortunately that now comes at the cost of having to use dedicated software. That said, you don't need the software per se, but if you really want to dial this thing in, in, you're gonna have to dive in there. So you get 4 profiles, 4 different DPI levels, each level with its own independent settings for X and Y axis. You have adjustable liftoff distance, angle tunability. You can adjust the polling rate from 125 Hz to 1000 Hz in 4 different steps. You can even tweak the button response time and tune it to a surface. Not to mention you get fully programmable lighting, macros, access to tactics, which adds another button layer on top of the existing button assignments, and customization for the OLED screen. All of this can be saved to one of 4 different profiles and stored on the mouse itself. And unlike the other guys, if you decide to travel to a different computer which doesn't have the software installed, not only do all your button assignments travel with you, but all your lighting assignments travel as well. For 75 bucks, in my opinion, this thing packs quite a punch. This thing is definitely made for guys with a big hand that don't mind some weight in their mouse. It's also definitely more suited to high sensitivity playstyles, as lifting this guy off the mat requires some effort versus some of the other mice in my collection. There's no real lip or place poured into the mold to assist with liftoff, so that's all going to be executed with lateral grip. This plus the weight of this mouse could be fatiguing for long play sessions. This wouldn't be my first pick for an FPS mouse. It just doesn't play fast enough for me at low DPI versus a smaller, lighter mouse. But it probably makes a great MMO mouse, and in practice makes a great editing mouse. And Cooler Master, if you guys are watching this, please add some functionality in the software to allow you to assign the front button as a sniper button or a DPI clutch. The position is fantastic for this, and it should be an easy update to the software. All in all though, we get a very feature-packed, very durable, very comfortable mouse. And the D-pad integration is one of the smartest uses I've seen for a thumb side panel so far. For triggering ults and abilities, I imagine you get pretty lethal with it pretty quick. Now, because you might need somewhere to park this Buick-sized mouse, Cooler Master's got a couple different surface options. The first being the MP860, which is a dual-sided RGB mouse pad. This measures 360mm by 260mm. One side's a cloth surface with a little corner cutout for the illuminated logo, and the other side is full aluminum for speed. I own RGB mouse pads from pretty much every other major manufacturer. This one does some things really right. For starters, the RGB is actually 19 different zones, so you can really dial in your color setup or get some really nice effects. Due to the positioning of the RGB strip itself, it will throw some glow on your desk, unlike the dual-sided option from SteelSeries. On the cloth side, the color of the logo is tied to the color of the corner piece on the LED, so you can't have that logo be an offset color. If there's negatives here, it's that 1, this pad is thick, and it tapers from top to bottom, so it's like 6mm thick at the bottom of the mouse pad and then tapers all the way up to 10mm thick at the top. In practice, I don't really notice this gradual increase even when I have the mouse pad aligned in portrait as opposed to landscape, but it is thicker than the pads I normally use. The other drawback is that due to the dual-sided design, there's obviously no rubber or any kind of anti-slip material on the desk side of the mat. In gameplay, I don't find that it moves around at all, but it will slide around on the desk if you bump it. Really smart design here though, good depth to the RGB system, and it's a great choice if you can never decide between a cloth or a hard surface. But it's not cheap, coming in at just under 70 bucks. Now, if you really want to go big, there's the MP750. This is available in 3 sizes, but we're looking at the XL, which measures 940mm by 380mm and is 3mm thick. SteelSeries is 900 by 300mm, and the Razer offering is 920 by 294. So this is bigger than the competition in every way, especially vertically, where it counts, am I right? The only trick the SteelSeries mat has over this mat is that SteelSeries manages to do 2 different color zones. Both the Razer and the Cooler Master pad are both single color, and everything you can do with that, so you're basically limited to like color cycling and breathing. You do get a detachable, thin, braided micro USB cable here, but I wish everyone would start putting the hub on the right side of these pads. It would make cable managing a lot cleaner. I don't know a lot of people with the PC on the left side of their desk. The other thing to keep in mind here is that all the light stems from the hub and radiates out along the light pipe, so the colors are going to be brighter and more saturated the closer you get to the hub, and fade the further out you get. All in all though, it's got a huge area, a rubberized bottom so it stays put, and the surface itself is like a tight, slick cloth, which offers a pretty good blend of speed and control. You also don't have to worry about it laying completely flat or being wavy or whatever. Just give it a little time to settle in, you'll be good to go. The MP750 XL can be had on Amazon for about 55 bucks. If you've never experienced the pleasure of using a full-size desk mat, I highly recommend that you do. It's worth noting here too that all the peripherals we looked at today, as well as the CM752 headset, all use the same version of the Portal software, though the keyboards I have in-house for testing don't seem to utilize Portal at all at this point. Big thanks again to Cooler Master for sending these out. I will leave affiliate links for everything we talked about in today's video. If you'd like to grab something for yourself, it really helps me out. Today's setup flex is from Joe Dean. Joe just built his first PC last year and already has a pretty impressive setup. He's got a Ryzen 2600 and MSI RTX 2070 with 16 gig of Corsair DDR4. He plays on a Razer Black Widow V2 with green switches, a Logitech G502 on a Razer Firefly hard surface. He's got a YouTube channel called GeoNeo where he's uploading Let's Play vids of one of my favorite games ever, Resident Evil 4. Go check him out and show him some love. If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming setup flex, click the card in the corner for details. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up.